Howdy there, Isaac here. Today we're continuing the What If Naruto Got the Sharingan storyline. Quick recap time. The story stayed the same up until the Land of Waves conclusion. Here, Sasuke would fall to Haku, and Naruto, after Haku's death, would be injured by Zabuza, losing both eyes in the process. On Sasuke's deathbed, he'd end up giving the knucklehead ninja his Sharingan. Zabuza wouldn't die and would be taken back to Konoha, and thus the Chunin exams arc begins. Whilst Naruto was meeting with the Sand Genin, Kakashi would still nominate his team to take the exams. Usually only teams of 3 were allowed, but there had been an exception, though Kakashi was still wary. With Team 7 still dealing with Sasuke's death, this could end up putting an insurmountable amount of pressure on them. Iruka would be thinking the same thing and would voice his opinions on the matter. The discussion would go the same as in canon, with the third Hokage announcing the preliminary test. Kakashi would still deliver the applications to Sakura and Naruto, though the Genin were significantly less excited than they should be. Naruto did still want to become the Hokage, and the rank of Chunin was the next step to that. But the memory of Sasuke was drowning out any happiness at the prospect. Why did Naruto deserve to have his dreams come true when Sasuke couldn't? That was a big question Naruto had. Why him? Haku attacked both of them, so why did Naruto get to live? The walk home would be silent, with neither Sakura or Naruto speaking. They hadn't done much of that lately, not since imprisoning Zabuza. But finally, out of nowhere, Naruto asked, "Sakura, do you think Sasuke would have passed the Chunin exams?" Sakura would be silent for a moment before finally answering with a yes, that Sasuke was too cool not to pass. It stung to talk about Sasuke, but the two soon found themselves reminiscing about their times with the boy. They laughed, and oddly enough, Naruto was the one who ended up crying. He didn't want to, but everything ended up just spilling over, and he couldn't stop. Sakura would see this and realize Naruto had been feeling the same pain she had been. Here, she'd begin to see Naruto as more than just an annoyance. He was a normal person, just like her. After another moan of silence, Sakura would ask if Naruto thought they were going to pass the exams. Despite any doubt he had in his mind, Naruto said they would. Naruto had to pass, not only to become Hokage, but also to become strong enough to fight Sasuke's brother. But Naruto wouldn't solely be able to pass by himself. Even with Sasuke, they would have had trouble, so Naruto asked Sakura if she'd train with him. Surprisingly enough, Sakura would say yes, and so the next 5 days were filled with the two training. By the end of the 5 days, Sakura could actually handle herself in a fight, though she couldn't take on more malicious people like Gaara or Dozu. Something to note, Lee had stopped sparring and training with Naruto during the 5 days. On the day of registration, Naruto would be the one to see through the Chunin's genjutsu with his Sharingan. Neji would now ask Naruto his name, to which the boy would gladly proclaim he was Naruto Uzumaki. Neji would make note of the activated Sharingan and Naruto's scar, as well as a lack of a third member on Naruto's team. This Genin was interesting to Neji. He'd make sure to keep an eye on him. Even though Sasuke wasn't present and Lee already knew Naruto, I believe old Bushy Brows would still approach Team 7. "Naruto, I wish to test the fruits of my labor against your Sharingan," Rock Lee would proclaim. "Oh yeah? Well, bring it on, Bushy Brows," Naruto would say whilst making a group of shadow clones. The fight would still go to Lee here, with Naruto realizing just how much Lee had been holding back while they had sparred. Lee wouldn't try to use his forbidden jutsu on Naruto and end the fight on friendly but serious terms. "I see. I wanted to test myself against the natural talent of the Sharingan. But be warned, Naruto. There's one other Genin you'll have to worry about. Neji Hyuga. And with that, Lee would disappear. Naruto would proceed to the registration area with Sakura. Whilst walking there, Naruto would think about why Neji was so dangerous. If even Bushy Brows revered him, then how could Naruto beat him? Naruto knew Hinata. Maybe next time he saw her, he could ask about Neji. Naruto and Sakura would enter the room with the 6 other rookie genin. Unfortunately, right as Naruto was going to ask Hinata about Neji, Kiba would step in and taunt Naruto. This would lead the rookie genin to arguing, and Kabuto, like in canon, would step in. Kabuto would give the rookies information on the exams, as well as show off his ninja info cards. Here, I think Naruto would ask about Neji, though he wouldn't learn much. The sound genin would still end up assaulting Kabuto, but this time, Naruto would be able to see the sound with his Sharingan. Before Naruto could say anything to Dozu, Ibiki would arrive. The proctor would go on to explain the rules for the written exam. The exam would play out just as it did in the anime. Naruto would still think of cheating, but the fear of being caught would stop him from even looking away from his paper. As in canon, the Chunin hopefuls would make their way to the Forest of Death. Upon receiving the consent forms, Naruto would read through the form, taking in all the dangers that awaited him. He knew Ibiki had said ninja often died to get information, but this was just an exam. Would people really die or get that injured here? Whilst thinking over the form's implications, Naruto would run into Hinata. Here, I think Naruto would ask her about how the Byakugan worked. This was both in order to learn more about Neji, as well as other dojutsu. Maybe information on the Byakugan could help him learn more about his own Sharingan. A flustered Hinata would give a vague explanation of the Byakugan to Naruto, though he wouldn't learn much. From what Naruto had heard, it made you able to see all around yourself, or almost all around, and also see chakra. Naruto thought that the Byakugan was definitely useful, but ultimately not as powerful as the Sharingan. He'd be able to take on Neji then. Finally, the teams would get their scrolls and go to their respective gates. Naruto wouldn't be as brooding as Sasuke here, but he'd be far less pumped up about the exam. Here, Naruto considered the real risks the exam held, and not only was Naruto at risk, so was Sakura. No, Naruto wouldn't let a repeat of the bridge happen. He was stronger now. He'd protect his comrades, no matter what. The second part of the test would begin and play out quite differently. Naruto would attempt to hide with Sakura and be much more vigilant, meaning they'd be safe until Orochimaru would arrive. Orochimaru would expose both Naruto and Sakura to his killing intent. Unfortunately, Naruto was already fearing Sakura's death, and this only amplified that fear, stunning him. Orochimaru would taunt the two before moving towards Sakura whilst pulling out a kunai. What am I doing? Move! 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 Naruto would plead with himself. Sakura was going to die, and it would be all Naruto's fault. The sound of a kunai wedging itself into flesh was heard, and blood would shoot out into the air. But that's where I'm leaving it for now. Mwahahaha. Cliffhangers are the best. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Since I enjoyed making it, remember to Texas smash that like button, and if this video was even beyond plus ultra, consider subscribing. See you in the next video.